Dive into the extraordinary world of Daphne Guinness, the British heiress whose life is a mesmerizing tapestry of heritage, innovation, and personal triumph. As a descendant of one of Britain's most storied families, Daphne has carved a unique path that defies convention, blending aristocratic roots with boundary-pushing artistry. From her formative years in a dynamic era of cultural change to her emergence as a global influencer, her journey reflects a blend of elegance, resilience, and bold self-expression. Renowned for her avant-garde fashion sense, Daphne has become a muse and collaborator in the high fashion realm, inspiring collections and exhibitions that celebrate creativity and individuality. Her ventures extend beyond style into film production, acting in thought-provoking projects, and music composition, where she crafts evocative sounds that resonate with themes of emotion and introspection. As a philanthropist, she champions causes close to her heart, supporting artistic communities and social initiatives. Explore Daphne Guinness's biography, from her intriguing family legacy to her latest endeavors in 2025. Uncover insights into her net worth, iconic wardrobe secrets, and the controversies that add depth to her persona. Whether you're fascinated by celebrity biographies, fashion history, or stories of reinvention, Daphne's narrative offers endless inspiration for those drawn to lives of passion and perseverance. Daphne Diana Joan Susanna Guinness entered the world on November 9, 1967, in the vibrant heart of London, a city alive with the echoes of the swinging 60s cultural revolution. From the outset, her life was steeped in a blend of extraordinary privilege and intricate family dynamics that would shape her into the multifaceted artist she is today. As the daughter of Jonathan Guinness, the third Baron Moyne, she inherited the legacy of the Guinness brewing empire, a name that evoked images of vast wealth, historic estates, and a lineage intertwined with British aristocracy. Her mother, Suzanne Lisney, added an artistic dimension to the family, fostering a creative spark that Daphne would later ignite in her own pursuits. Yet it was the Mitford connection through her father's side that introduced layers of notoriety and controversy. The Mitford sisters were legendary figures in British society, writers like Nancy Mitford, rebels like Jessica, and the infamous Diana Mitford, Daphne's grandmother, whose marriage to Sir Oswald Mosley, the leader of the British Union of Fascists, stirred scandal in the 1930s. This association with far-right politics was something Daphne discovered shockingly late. As a teenager tuning into a BBC News broadcast in 1980 announcing Mosley's death. Horrified, she immediately distanced herself from those views, publicly rejecting them and emphasizing her own path of independence and creativity. Growing up in this era, amid the post-war shifts toward modernity and the burgeoning counterculture, Daphne's early years were marked by a tension between tradition and rebellion, setting the stage for a life that defied easy categorization. Her childhood unfolded like a tapestry of opulence and oddity, shuttling between lavish properties that spanned continents. There were the sprawling English country estates, complete with manicured gardens and echoing halls filled with ancestral portraits, and an ancient Irish castle that whispered tales of bygone eras. Then came the Spanish villa, a rustic retreat devoid of modern conveniences like electricity or cars, where Daphne slept in a bed positioned beside an old monastery altar, surrounded by the ghosts of monks long gone. This unconventional setting fostered a sense of adventure and whimsy, amplified by family friends like the surrealist painter Salvador Dalí. Dalí, with his eccentric mustache and boundless imagination, became a mentor of mischief, regaling young Daphne with stories of how to embrace the absurd and challenge norms. "He taught me how to be naughty," she once recalled with a fond smile, his influence planting seeds of artistic rebellion that would bloom later in life. Yet, this idyllic facade masked underlying chaos. Her father's complicated romantic history resulted in half-siblings scattered across different mothers, some of whom Daphne learned about only in adulthood, surprises that, while initially jarring, eventually led to warm familial bonds. More profoundly scarring was a traumatic event at age 5 in 1972. Tony Bakeland, a troubled acquaintance suffering from schizophrenia, invaded their Kensington home in a fit of violence. He sees Daphne, pressing a knife to her throat and dragging her through the rooms while ranting about killing all women, starting with her. Blood trickled from cuts as terror gripped the child, but the family butler intervened, saving her life. Bakeland went on to murder his own mother the next day and later attacked his grandmother before taking his own life in Rikers Island prison. Daphne's relief upon hearing of his death was palpable, but the incident was buried in silence. "No one talked about it," she shared years later, her words heavy with the isolation of unprocessed fear. This unspoken horror combined with other brushes with danger, like driving through a shootout in Los Angeles as an adult, where she chose to accelerate rather than freeze, forged a resilience in her, a quiet strength amid vulnerability. In a 2024 Guardian interview, she reflected on her proximity to death. "I have been very close to death. When you get used to the idea of death, then you don't fear it. I have glimpsed what comes after, and it does not scare me." These experiences, rarely discussed in depth, reveal a childhood that was as much about survival as it was about splendor, instilling in Daphne a profound understanding of life's fragility and the power of creativity as a refuge. As she transitioned into young adulthood, Daphne's life veered into a chapter of constraint and eventual emancipation. At just 19, in 1987, she married Spyros Niarchos, the son of Greek shipping magnate Stavros Niarchos, entering a world of unimaginable luxury, but also rigid expectations. The union produced 3 children, her first son arriving in 1989, yet Daphne described it as a gilded prison, a life of opulent isolation where she felt married off rather than chosen. The demands of being a tycoon's wife left little space for personal expression. Routines were strict, and even postpartum recovery was limited to mere days before resuming duties. "I only got a few days off after each birth," she later confided, highlighting the emotional toll of conforming to a role that stifled her spirit. The marriage dissolved in 1999, yielding a substantial $39 million settlement atop her Guinness inheritance. But the true price was the separation from her children, who primarily resided with their father. Holidays like Christmas often found her alone, a poignant solitude she endured with quiet grace. Over time, however, she mended ties with Spyros, evolving into genuine friendship. "Now we're really good friends," she noted, embracing her mantra, "There's always a bigger picture." This period of upheaval marked a turning point, liberating Daphne to pursue her passions unencumbered. Reflecting on her ambitions, she once admitted in interviews to childhood dreams of becoming a spy or joining the army, roles that spoke to her desire for adventure and autonomy, qualities suppressed during her marriage, but now free to flourish. Post-divorce, Daphne immersed herself in the avant-garde fashion scene, emerging as a muse and innovator whose influence rippled through the industry. Her striking features, porcelain skin, sharp cheekbones, and an otherworldly aura, made her a natural for covers of Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and Tatler, earning her induction into the International Best Dressed Hall of Fame in 1994. But she was more than a model. She became a confidant to icons like Alexander McQueen and Isabella Blow, nurturing their visions while forging her own. Her bond with McQueen was profound, a shared defiance against convention that produced works like the Contramundum glove, a stunning piece of 18-karat white gold encrusted with diamonds, co-designed with jeweler Sean Lean, and auctioned at Sotheby's in 2017 for a princely sum. Isabella Blow, the eccentric talent spotter who discovered McQueen, saw in Daphne a soulmate, their friendship a whirlwind of creativity until tragedy intervened. Blow's suicide in 2007, followed by McQueen's in 2010, devastated Daphne, who grappled with survivor's guilt. I felt a target on my back. In tribute, she acquired Blow's entire wardrobe just before its Christie's auction, curating the 2013 Somerset House exhibition Isabella Blow Fashion Galore, and establishing a mental health foundation in her name. This act of preservation extended to a 2011 Met Gala performance, where Daphne, clad in McQueen's feathered gown, posed in a Barney's window like a living sculpture, merging mourning with artistry. Her contributions expanded, writing columns for Vogue and the Financial Times, penning forewords for books like Alexander McQueen, Fashion Visionary, and designing collaborations such as a shirt collection with Comme des Garçons and her eponymous fragrance. In 2011, she launched a 21-piece makeup line with MAC Cosmetics and curated an exhibition at the Fashion Institute of Technology, displaying over 100 haute couture pieces from her collection, alongside her short film, The Phenomenology of Body, which explored fashion's historical and philosophical depths. Recent years have seen continued activity. In 2024, she featured on the cover of the Sunday Times Style, showcasing her archive, and in April 2025, appeared in a Vogue Korea editorial photographed by Agatha Serge. Described by the New York Times as a performance artist, Daphne views fashion as an extension of self. "I like being in the shadows," she said in 2024, preferring creative anonymity over spotlight. Yet her style, fearless, experimental, remains a beacon, blending Gothic elegance with futuristic flair. Venturing into film, Daphne Guinness demonstrated her remarkable versatility, stepping into roles as both a producer and an actress, with a keen eye for unconventional narratives that often delved into the complexities of human experience. One of her earliest and most notable contributions came in 2004 when she backed the short film Cashback, directed by the talented photographer-turned-filmmaker Sean Ellis. This poignant piece, which earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Live Action Short Film, explored themes of insomnia, time, and perception through the story of a young art student who discovers he can freeze time during his night shifts at a supermarket, allowing him to observe the world in stillness. The film's success led to its expansion into a full-length feature in 2006, further highlighting Daphne's instinct for supporting projects with emotional depth and visual innovation. As an actress, she gravitated toward avant-garde works that pushed boundaries and reflected her own fascination with psychological introspection. In 2011, she took on a starring role in Joe Lally's The Murder of Gene Seberg, a film that reimagined the tragic life and mysterious death of the iconic American actress Gene Seberg, blending historical drama with elements of conspiracy and mental turmoil. That same year, Daphne headlined The Legend of Lady White Snake, a captivating retelling of the ancient Chinese folklore about a snake spirit who falls in love with a human, only to face trials of betrayal and redemption. Directed by photographers Marcus Klinko and Indrani, with styling by G.K. Reed, The project featured dialogue specially penned by her longtime partner, the renowned French philosopher Bernard-Henri Lévy, infusing the tale with philosophical undertones on love, identity, and transformation. Continuing her foray into speculative storytelling, in 2012 she led the cast in Shaki, a thought-provoking science fiction short directed by Julian Landais, which examined futuristic themes of artificial intelligence and human connection in a dystopian setting. Beyond acting, Daphne also directed her own short film, The Phenomenology of Body, in 2011, a meditative exploration of fashion and costumes across historical eras, which she incorporated into her exhibition at the Fashion Institute of Technology. These projects, while niche and often experimental, underscored her deep-seated interest in storytelling that probes the human psyche, blending visual artistry with emotional vulnerability to create works that resonate on a personal level, much like her own life experiences of loss and reinvention. Music, however, emerged as Daphne Guinness's most intimate and cathartic outlet, serving as a therapeutic vessel through which she channeled her deepest emotions, traumas, and reflections on life. Her entry into the music world was profoundly influenced by the legendary David Bowie, a close friend and mentor who recognized her potential and introduced her to the acclaimed producer Tony Visconti, known for his work with Bowie himself and artists like T-Rex. This encouragement came at a pivotal time, as Daphne had long harbored a passion for music, but needed the nudge to pursue it professionally. She made her debut with the album Optimist in Black in 2016, recorded in a secluded Irish studio during a period marked by overwhelming personal losses, the deaths of her brother Jasper, Bowie, her dear friends Alexander McQueen and Isabella Blow. What began as an intention to cover Bob Dylan's Desolation Row evolved into a deeply autobiographical project. As she explained in interviews, I went to record a Dylan cover and ended up writing my life, pouring her grief into songs that blended raw vulnerability with sonic experimentation. The album's gothic drama pop style, infused with a glam rock intensity and slightly psychedelic undertones, received widespread acclaim. Vice called it drama pop with a gothic tinge, while the New York Times praised its glam rockish, slightly psychedelic flavor, noting how it captured the essence of her resilient spirit amid sorrow. Building on this foundation, her follow-up albums expanded her musical palette. Daphne and the Golden Chord, released in 2018, was crafted in a whirlwind 3-week session at British Grove Studios, involving an impressive ensemble of 58 instrumentalists, including drummers, tambourine players, and even bassoonists, resulting in a sound that the Times described as aristocratic glam, fueled by wit, character, and a clear and abiding love of rock and roll. It featured tracks like Talking to Yourself and Remember to Breathe, with accompanying videos that amplified its theatrical flair. In 2020, Revelations introduced looser, disco-inflected arrangements, incorporating experimental instruments such as the theremin and ocarina for an otherworldly texture, as noted by British GQ for its rich disco orchestration and parts written for more experimental, less common instruments. The album was paired with a 3-part film series directed by David LaChapelle, drawing thematic inspiration from the Book of Revelation to explore apocalypse, redemption, and human folly through songs like Hallucinations and Heaven. Her most ambitious effort to date arrived with Sleep in 2024, released on June 21st via Agent Anonym Recordings after sessions at the iconic Abbey Road and British Grove Studios. Mixed by Ricky Damian, known for his collaborations with Lady Gaga and Adele, and featuring string arrangements by Tony Visconti with a full 34-piece orchestra, the album included contributions from musicians like Malcolm Doherty, Guy Pratt, bassist for Pink Floyd, and Rob Shirakbari. Its track list, Hip Neck Spine, Volcano, Time, Mishima, Dark Night of the Soul, No Joke, Solitaire, Love and Destruction, and Bedazzled, weave together gothic charm, art pop allure, and esoteric creativity, earning it a spot on Culture Fix's list of 2024's best albums as a sleek and sophisticated blend of gothic allure and art pop invention. Singles were elevated by stunning visuals. Hip Neck Spine, directed by Nick Knight, Mishima by Paul Fryer, and Volcano and Time by David LaChapelle, each video transforming the music into immersive art pieces. Daphne offered insight into No Joke, stating, "It's a conversation with myself, that time is running out and we need to switch off from the general negativity. It's about the politics of human nature," highlighting her use of music to confront societal and personal disillusionment. For her, songwriting is nothing short of exorcism. "It's how I exorcise a shadow," she has said, admitting that the intensity of creation often leads her to physical exhaustion, sometimes requiring hospitalization after completing an album, as the process demands she push beyond her limits to achieve emotional release. Even in 2025, her evolution continues. She teased a new album via Instagram posts, sharing glimpses of upcoming work, including a remix of Burn in collaboration with Hercules and Love Affair, which builds on their shared creative energy, and Morning Star, a side project with Paul Fryer that hints at mystical themes. Additionally, a deluxe edition of Sleep was released in early 2025, featuring fresh remixes like Time Until Dawn Remix, available on streaming platforms, signaling her ongoing commitment to reinventing her sound and using music as a lifeline for personal growth. Daphne's personal world is a rich mosaic of profound depth, eccentricity, and unyielding authenticity, where discipline intersects with whimsical habits to form a life that defies conventional expectations. Her enduring romance with Bernard-Henri Lévy, the influential French philosopher and writer, has been a cornerstone of her emotional landscape since the early 2000s, confirmed publicly in a 2011 Harper's Bazaar interview, where she declared, "He is obviously the love of my life," describing their connection as intellectually stimulating and passionately profound. Despite fluctuations, rumors of periods of distance, the relationship has weathered time, with Daphne embracing her identity as a hopeless romantic who likens falling in love to a firework going off in your stomach, a sensation she cherishes even amid life's uncertainties. Though the romance may have evolved or faded in intensity by recent years, she approaches the idea of remarriage with characteristic humor and realism, quipping in interviews, "I don't think anyone will ask me," while affirming her faith in love's transformative power. Her daily routine is a blend of rigorous self-care and quirky indulgences. Mornings begin with a simple ritual of fresh mint steeped in hot water alongside a regimen of vitamins to kickstart her energy, followed by dedicated gym sessions that keep her physically grounded amid her creative pursuits. Work days are intense, often fueled by an eclectic playlist of music that inspires her, and she practices intermittent fasting, rarely eating before 5 p.m., which she credits for maintaining focus and clarity. Yet, she balances this asceticism with guilty pleasures she owns without shame, such as enjoying fish fingers dipped in ketchup, a comforting childhood staple, or binge-watching television series late into the night, finding solace in escapism. Technologically savvy from an early age, Daphne was an enthusiastic adopter of the internet in the 1990s, when peers dismissed it as madness, using it to explore new ideas and connect with the world. However, in recent years, she has developed neo-Luddite reservations, expressing wariness about smartphones' pervasive influence on society, arguing they disrupt genuine human interaction and contribute to a culture of distraction. Philanthropy remains a core expression of her compassion, extending her influence beyond art into meaningful social impact. She has walked the runway in Naomi Campbell's Fashion for Relief events multiple times, helping raise funds for victims of natural disasters like earthquakes and hurricanes. In April 2008, she auctioned off portions of her renowned wardrobe, directing proceeds to Womankind Worldwide, an organization dedicated to combating domestic violence and empowering women globally. Her commitment deepened in 2013 when she donated a collection of her shoes to the museum at the Fashion Institute of Technology's Shoe Obsession exhibit, celebrating footwear as art while supporting educational initiatives. Most poignantly, her initiatives honoring Isabella Blow persist, including the foundation she established to support those with mental health challenges, offering scholarships to aspiring artists and designers, and ensuring Blow's legacy inspires future generations through ongoing exhibitions and online archives. Controversies have occasionally shadowed Daphne's narrative, often stemming from her family's storied history and the privileges of her upbringing, which invites scrutiny and debate about authenticity and inherited legacies. Central to these discussions is her grandmother Diana Mitford's well-documented ties to fascism through her marriage to Oswald Mosley and involvement with the British Union of Fascists in the 1930s, prompting ongoing debates about guilt by association and the weight of familial inheritance. Daphne has unequivocally condemned these affiliations, stating in interviews that she was horrified upon learning of them as a teenager and rejects any such ideologies outright, emphasizing her own values of inclusivity and creativity. Yet the Mitford name continues to evoke polarized views, with some critics questioning whether she fully grapples with this shadow or benefits from selective historical amnesia. Beyond lineage, detractors have labeled her a dilettante, suggesting that her vast wealth from the Guinness inheritance and her divorce settlement cushions the risks of her artistic endeavors, allowing her to dabble in fashion, film, and music without the financial pressures faced by others, potentially undermining perceptions of her dedication. Supporters, however, including publications like Vogue and the New York Times, counter this by hailing her as a true performance artist whose life and work form a cohesive canvas of innovation and self-expression, arguing that her privilege enables bold experimentation that enriches cultural landscapes. In a revealing 2024 Guardian interview, she addressed her self-perception with humility. "I don't look in the mirror much. Growing up, I never thought I was beautiful," shedding light on her internal struggles with image and identity amid external judgments. Her refusal to conform to societal norms, whether in style, career, or opinions, fuels this polarization, raising questions. Is she an authentic creator driven by genuine passion, or merely an eccentric heiress indulging in hobbies? Recent social media posts from 2025 amplify her political unease, such as lamenting cuts to arts funding in the UK and the lack of a dedicated culture minister, which she contrasts unfavorably with supportive policies in countries like France and Ireland, positioning her as a vocal advocate for cultural preservation while inviting further debate on her role as a privileged commentator. Daphne Guinness's significance endures as a profound embodiment of resilience, masterfully alchemizing personal pain into purposeful creation that resonates across generations. Her story far transcends the label of heiress, serving as a compelling illustration of how profound traumas, from the childhood assault by Tony Bakeland and brushes with violence, to the devastating losses of loved ones like McQueen and Blow, can be transmuted into transformative art that heals both the creator and her audience. Through her multifaceted contributions in fashion, film, and music, she champions self-expression as a vital tool for emotional recovery, encouraging others to confront their inner shadows through creativity. Her exhibitions, such as the ongoing tributes to Isabella Blow, not only preserve irreplaceable legacies of fashion, innovation, but also provide platforms for advocacy, aiding vulnerable individuals through mental health support and scholarships that empower emerging talents. In 2025, her life continues to unfold with meaningful milestones, including the celebration of her son's wedding, a private yet joyous event that underscores her role as a devoted mother amid her public persona, and the brewing of new music projects, as teased in her Instagram updates, which promise further exploration of themes like love, loss, and societal critique. By attending high-profile events like the McQueen Autumn-Winter 2025 show in Paris and speaking at the Charleston Festival on Sing O Muse, Fashion's Eternal Inspiration, in May 2025, she challenges conformity at every turn, urging us to embrace our inherent contradictions and view them as sources of strength. As she navigates the chaos of modernity, from technological skepticism to cultural advocacy, Daphne reminds us that privilege does not negate suffering, but can amplify its impact, turning personal adversity into universal inspiration and motivating us to weave threads of beauty from the raw, often frayed edges of existence. In reflection, Daphne's extraordinary journey, from a youth indelibly marked by terror and isolation to a courageous creator who channels vulnerability into visionary works, evokes a sense of thoughtful, heartfelt closure. As she poignantly observes, life is comedy and tragedy in equal measure, her artistry masterfully turns heartbreak into haute couture and grief into harmonious melody, offering a blueprint for finding harmony amid discord. She stands as an enduring beacon, illuminating the truth that from the jagged edges of life's experiences, we can craft something profoundly beautiful and eternally resonant.